What's up? What's up? This is the Sports Counterpoints podcast, live and direct. We're all out here at Brian's for the start of the football season. So yeah, I'm GB, Coop, Brian. What's up, guys?
Brian, thank you for hosting, as always.
I just realized that I really need to put something right in this corner. This is like the second or third time we've recorded.
Right.
I should get some plugs in for my teams.
It's cool. We'll make that. We'll make that for the next one. So yeah, so we're talking. Let's get to it. It's start of the season. We usually start off with a little introductory beverage.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do that.
Nice to see the new season begin.
Cheers.
There we go.
Talking
We're
football
all
games.
That's right.
That's how we began our first show forever ago.
So what? Cool.
No free advertising, but you probably know when I'm drinking by the can.
Cool. So let's get to it.
Seagram's.
We want to get everything. We're trying to keep it to an hour. So for starting with college football, let's go. What do you guys think about that? That's last
Man,
week?
Colorado TCU.
Start there.
It was
What a
good.
game. It was a very good game. Colorado, look, I'm not going to overreact like everybody else is. Like, there's some big contender or whatever, but it was great to see Dion win his first game. I'm not going to lie. I was actually kind of rooting for Dion. Rooting for Dion. But make no mistake about it, this isn't the same TCU team that went to the national title last year. Those guys are gone, especially the quarterback. The quarterback play was definitely dramatically different. Colorado definitely has holes on defense. They gave up 188 yards rushing just in the second half alone at one point. So they're going to have to fix some things there, which is probably why they're only a 3-point favorite playing against Nebraska next week, which is not a good team. But overall, it's just a very entertaining game, and that's what I watch college football for, the entertainment value. But going forward, Colorado will still be lucky if they win 5 games this year. That will be a successful season. I still don't think they're a good team, but it was great to see Dion win and an entertaining game. What about you, Brian?
Yeah, I wasn't rooting for Dion. I still think that he's trash for what he did at Jackson State. But look, he has produced a really good team. His son was lights out.
Yeah.
What he's doing with Shedeur is impressive. So I take nothing away from what they were able to do, other than that he put the rest of the Pac-12 and the college football on notice that whether they're going to be really good or not, because you're right, it's a different TCU team. They are going to be competitive week in and week out, and they are here to play. I have a lot of respect for that. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, definitely. Any other games that y'all were interested in or wanted to give a little?
So I'll talk about the USC Nevada game one because it was one that I watched more closely than others. So we watched pretty much every play. Caleb Williams continues to impress. Some of the passes that he is able to make defy logic, and to be able to do it at the level that he's doing it. Zachariah, again, looks super quick. He's an impressive young freshman. And then the defense. So, I was on Facebook and all this other stuff. And right after it was 7-7 because USC went down and scored in 4 plays. And then Nevada went down and scored in 4 plays. And the whole world instantaneously trashed the USC defense and said that there was no way they were going to have a decent season and blah, blah, blah. Like they literally wrote a bookend on the entire USC season after like 8 minutes of the game. And then from that point forward, the starters did not get scored on. The next time that the Nevada scored was when they had put everybody off the bench and the game was beyond done. I'm not saying that USC's defense is going to be good or great or any of that stuff, but what they did show was the ability to make big plays when it mattered. They let them get down the field and made big plays. They created turnovers, and that's all extremely important. And they showed enough life to give us hopefully the idea that they can be competitive throughout the season. Jason, what do you think on that game?
I did not watch USC. Usually I watch about 4 or 5 games. I didn't see this one, but I can say that ACC was 2-0 against SEC this year. This past week. That never happens. North Carolina beat South Carolina, and Florida State beat the hell out of LSU. I thought LSU would be a national contender this year, but Florida State has some NFL dudes on that team. And I hate to say it because I'm a Miami Hurricane fan. I hate Florida State, but they looked really good, and I think we'll be in trouble when we play them. They're going to kick our ass again. Oklahoma beat somebody 73-0. They're still not going to be that good this year, no matter
East
what.
Carolina.
They play against Arkansas State or something like that. Texas, I said last week, I'm not a buyer despite all their talent. They still struggled against Rice. They won 37-10, but it was a struggle.
37-10 is not a struggle, man.
No, they struggled. No, they had a lot of field goals in that first half. It was the second half, late in the second half, where they kind of pulled away. And then to your point, Brian, Alabama beat Middle Tennessee, I think Union, 56-7. Right. And then Georgia played Tennessee, Martin Lawrence. I think they won 43-7 on that one. So, yeah.
You know, what do you make? Real quick, we don't have much time left, but the Pac-12, which is basically all but going away, was undefeated.
Yes, they were
this weekend. The first weekend.
Washington had an impressive win too.
It just makes it a little bit more sad that they couldn't kind of keep it together. But and everyone's just talking about how it's the end. But do you have any thoughts on that as the Pac-12 has its what looks like its last season?
Well, the Pac-12 was never a terrible conference. Yeah, it wasn't the SEC, but
we didn't get TV.
Right.
That was the problem.
Right. They getting a TV deal. Exactly. They got a TV deal, everything open, everything. You know, I don't know. Some people like me, I look forward to them Pac-12 games, you know, that come on late at night.
Like good rivalries.
Right. It's going to be over. So like Brian said, alluded to before previous weeks, having a division where your teams span from West Coast to East Coast, it's not really a division.
It's not going to be.
Yeah.
All right. So trying something new. We're trying to keep this under an hour, so we got the timer going. So
Glenn don't want to hear us talk too much, so we got us on a pitch count.
we got a lot to go over. We're gonna go through the whole league, so we're keeping it on 5 minutes of division. So listen, don't listen too slow. They're not talking too fast. You feel me? All right, so go on. Let's slide to the NFL. Starting in NFC South. Let's get it.
NFC South. Go ahead. Oh, okay. I guess I'll start. All right. Well, in fourth place, I got the Atlanta Falcons, just like I had them last year. I had them as the worst team in the league. They have no quarterback and no pass rush. That's no, I would say, that's not a recipe for success in the NFL. I honestly think the only reason they are in the news and people want to watch them is because of running back Bijan Robinson, to be perfectly honest with you. So I have them coming in last place. Tampa Bay, I'm not a fan of Desmond Ridder at all. He's not any good. Tampa Bay has Baker Mayfield as quarterback. He's not that good either, but he's better than Desmond Ridder. I have him in third place. They have an aging roster, and Baker Mayfield's a quarterback, so, you know, whatever. Second place, I got the upstart Carolina Panthers. Now, I'm a little biased towards Bryce Young, I'm not going to lie. I do like Bryce Young. The only reason I'm interested in this team is because of Bryce Young and to see if they can protect him. If they can protect him, I got Carolina going to the playoffs. If they can't protect him, then it's going to be an issue. Their coach, Frank Wright, has never won a season opener. And number one drafted quarterbacks drafted number one overall, never won a season opener as well. And they played against Atlanta first game of the season, so we'll see what happens. Winning the division, I got the New Orleans Saints. It wasn't easy, but I had to look at. I was talking to Glenn actually before the podcast. I was talking about New Orleans' schedule. Their schedule is very, very easy. They should be able to take advantage of that, like the Philadelphia Eagles did last year, and Jalen Hurts. So I think Derek Carr would do the same thing. They have an aging roster. And I know Derek Carr's efficiency has gone down the last couple of years, but I think he's going to have a fresh start in New Orleans, and he's going to have he's going to, you know, these guys in the NFL, I think that efficiency rating will go up this year. So he should be able to take advantage of that, and they should win a division. Plus, I like Chris Olave, who's a very underrated receiver.
Nice, I like it.
So I have it the same way, but you have two teams going to the playoffs possibly from this.
Yes, I do.
I definitely do not have that. I don't think this division is very good. I think they're a whole lot of mediocre. And that doesn't mean that they, you know, can't have somebody who's going to win and perform, but I don't think that there's going to be multiple teams that are able to get out of this division. But I literally have it the exact same way. You know, Atlanta, the only thing to watch over there is Bijan Robinson. But the problem that they have is that they've got 12 running backs over there. And I don't think at any point in time, you know, you're going to have any idea whether it's going to be Bijan Robinson or a very good Tyler Aguirre. You know, Cordero Patterson is still running around in circles someplace over there. He's older, but he was very effective. And the problem that you have when you have a whole bunch of people in any one position is you really don't have anybody to count on at any one position. You know, Tampa Bay, I want to see them do well because I mainly because of fantasy, quite honestly. They have a lot of fantasy viable players. I don't think Baker Mayfield is the quarterback for very long. They do have a rookie over there. I do think that the second half of the season is likely his, in large part because they'll be so far out of it that there's no reason not to give the kid reps. And then after that, I have Carolina. It's not because I like Bryce Young, but I just don't think that there's enough talent on this team. That it's Bryce Young, DJ Moore,
Your boys there, Thielen.
Drew Albert, Adam Thielen, whom left our team because we couldn't give him any reps. So I like Thielen. I think he's fine. I mean, if you're a young quarterback, why wouldn't you want a guy like Thielen? But there's just a reality there that they're not there yet. And I don't see how you can take the cobbled parts together and make that a playoff team. New Orleans, I think, benefits from the schedule and not much more. Alvin Kamara starts off the season on the bench because he's suspended. They have Keandre Miller, but he's always hurt. Michael Thomas is hopefully healthy and he'll be able to come back. But I just don't see how they have enough players on offense to score points and defense to make sure that they stop points. Someone's got to go to the playoffs. I think that's obviously New Orleans. As they benefit from a schedule that's a little bit similar to Georgia's.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned also about the retreads on defense. Atlanta has a bunch of them too, a bunch of cast off from other teams that nobody wanted. Yeah,
we'll talk about it in a minute, but so does Minnesota. So but it's not that is an impossible situation. It's just an improbable situation.
Yeah, this ain't the transfer portal in college. You know what I'm saying? This doesn't work together like that. Speaking of Minnesota, you might as well just head to the NFC North.
Let's swipe to the NFC North.
All right. So hold on here. Okay. So I'm going to surprise no one by saying I have the Bears in last. That is not because I think they are going to be horrible. I think this is another division where there's a whole lot of middle teams that are going to be very close to each other within a game throughout the entire section. I think that they are better than the NFC South from top to bottom. And so if there's a way to get them to not beat up each other too much, they could benefit from playing, their schedules. So anyways, I have the Bears at the bottom. I do think Justin Fields is going to be a very viable team quarterback. Are his passing stats going to wow anyone? No, but I do think that what he does both on the ground and enough in the air to put them in a situation to be able to win some football games. Packers, I do think Jordan Love's going to be better than most people think. He looked pretty good in preseason. He's got some great wide receivers in Dukes and Watson. Unfortunately for them, both of those guys are hurt going into the first week. And I do think Aaron Jones is probably getting towards the end of his useful nature, but he'll be able to do it. Defense, they've always had problems here. I don't expect that to change this year, and that's why they're having third. I have the Vikings next in second place. The Vikings won a lot of improbable games and very close matchups last year. Yep. The law of averages suggests that even if they brought back the exact same team, their results are going to fall back a little bit. Add that to the fact that they tried to completely revamp their defense, do major work on their line, lose Adam Thielen, which they replaced admirably in Casey Osborne and Jordan Addison. Then they also switched from Dalvin Cook, who's very explosive, to Madison, who may be more reliable, but is not nearly as explosive. I actually think Ty Chandler has that job by the end of the season, and is a more explosive running back, which they'll want in that offense. They're very pass focused, but I don't think it's enough for them to get over the hurdle.
I'm using Chandler for fantasy. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, if you need a deep sleeper, he's a guy on first week waiver pickup. Lions, we've always liked the team. Yeah. There's not a lot of great things. I think David Montgomery is really good. Everyone is all over Jahmyr Gibbs. He's like a top 10 pick in fantasy leagues. Everyone keeps on forgetting that Montgomery is still the starter on that team. Jared Goff is not the quarterback that any of us want leading our team, but he knows how to throw a ball a lot. And that's what he really needs in that offense. I think that they have a favorable enough schedule and enough offensive firepower and enough camaraderie, team spirit to kind of get to that next place.
Okay. All right. I'm slightly different. I got Chicago Bears because they got the most overrated player in the league, Justin Fields, on that team. Everybody thinks this is his leap year. I don't see it because the boy can't throw. He can just run. But whoever wins the Green Bay Chicago game is going to be the major overreaction game of the year. They're just going to say a whole bunch of stuff, but
they're bad.
That's what it is. People forget Justin Fields lost 10 straight games last year, so I'm not on that hype.
The Bears lost 10 straight.
Bears, family. I got Green Bay in third. I'm not a Jordan Love guy, but people know that. but I think he'll be the ultimate game manager for this team. A lot of people are picking the Bears to beat Green Bay week 1. I'm not. I got Green Bay for the simple fact they got the better offensive line and running game. I trust that more than I trust the Bears. So both teams should not want their quarterbacks to pass that game. I would take Green Bay. In second place, I got the Detroit Lions. Yes, they made changes to their secondary and to their run defense, and they're everybody's favorite team right now, and I get that. But they're the Detroit Lions. I don't forgive them for burning me 2 years ago when I picked them to win the division. You know, they burned me. Okay.
What do you say about the Chargers?
You know, I'm not there yet on Detroit until I see it. It's one of them things I have to see it. So that means I have, shouts out to my boy Ray, works with me. He's a Minnesota Viking fan, just like Brian. I got the Minnesota Vikings winning the division. Yes, the defense on paper does not look good, any better than last year. They got a new defensive coordinator. They're running a new scheme. They don't have corners, and they have a spotty pass rush.
You're going to say at the end of this that they're going to be good, right?
But I still have them winning the division because they know how to play against the teams in this division. They've always played well against teams in the division. Kirk Cousins, as long as Justin Jefferson is healthy, I have faith in the Minnesota Vikings. He's going to get a new deal. He's probably going to make more money than Nick Bosa. So
you like them more than me last year?
I did. I picked Minnesota win the division last year, and I'm picking them again this year until I see it. I'm sorry. I think Minnesota is taking this as a slap in the face, all this Detroit hype. I think Minnesota wins.
All right, I like it. All right, guys, y'all doing good at the time. NFC East, give it to me.
NFC East. All right, I'm going with the New York Giants coming in last place. Yeah, I know they went to the playoffs last year, but their quarterback threw 15 damn touchdowns. And the only time he played well was against the Minnesota Vikings, both games. Hell of a coaching job by Brian Dable, but it's just a lack of talent on that team. And even with Saquon Barkley and a harder schedule, I don't think they're going to do. They don't sniff the playoffs this year. And then also their offensive line, in my opinion, I don't have any rankings, but they're a bottom 5 offensive line, and that's not going to work in that division. So I got them coming in last place. Washington, I really don't have much to say about them. I like Terry McLaurin, the wide receiver. You guys know that. But Washington just firing Daniel Snyder is not going to make them better. They need people that I guess are good at their jobs, like all the jobs they have. And I don't think they have those kind of people. Foundation is still bad. So, I'm Washington. I'm passing. I got Philadelphia Eagles coming in second place. I know I'm going against the grain here, but they're a very overvalued team, in my opinion. If you gamble or bet on games, you should go against Philly on the point spread this year because they're going to be overvalued. Last year, look, they had the easiest schedule in the league. They played a bunch of bad quarterbacks, and Jalen Hurts did his thing, but he only threw for 22 touchdowns. He was lighting it up. That team was built to run and play with leads, and they had a lot of leads last year, and they made it happen, made a Super Bowl run, and almost won it. I know Jalen Hurts is in the top 5 everybody's quarterback rankings, but I need to see another year. I want to see losing both of his coordinators, and his head coach does not call plays. I want to see how Jalen Hurts does this year, and if he's able to put up numbers this year with a new offense coordinator and defections on offense and defense, then more power to him. But I'm not putting him in elite status yet. And therefore, it means I got the Dallas Cowboys in first place. I know people are going to be saying stuff to me. Damn, the Cowboys? Yes. I know Dak Prescott led the league in NFL in interceptions last year. Yeah, I know that. He led the NFL, and he missed games. He still led the NFL in interceptions.
Sounds like you know who their next quarterback's going to be.
but the Cowboys attempted to improve their run defense, which is smart because they're going to play against most likely the Eagles or the 49ers in the playoffs. They're going to need to know how to stop the run. I just think the Cowboys, they are very, I would say, slightly underrated this year. And I think everybody's just picking the Eagles, and I just think Dallas is going to be better, mainly because Philadelphia has a much harder schedule this year. And I think they're going to incur some losses where Dallas will win the division by 1 game. So that's how I see it shaking out.
What's funny is that I see it differently, but for very similar reasons. So I have the Commanders in last place, and not because I think that they're going to be horrible, but I just don't think that they have enough pieces right now. I don't think the coaching change is going to make a difference. I don't think Sam Howell is going to be bad, but I also don't think he's going to be very good. And I do think that they're focused on the wrong things at the running back position. I think Brian Robinson Jr. showed he should be the guy and got to get the ball, and yet he still has to wait his turn in line. I don't think that makes sense. Terry McLaurin's obviously very good, but ultimately I still have them in last place. I just don't think they're able to put it together. That's because while the Giants, who beat my team last year, I do think we're a little overrated last year. I still think that they're a playoff team. They were able to bring pieces back. They didn't have to make significant changes. I think Brian Dable's another coach that people like playing for, and they showed that last season. So I think that's enough for them to kind of edge out the Commanders. Next, I have the Cowboys. I'm sorry, but if you have two quarterbacks, you have no quarterback.
Who's the second quarterback?
It's Trey Lance.
Oh,
And not because I think he's good, it's because the owners went out and gave up something to bring him in, which showed that they have concerns about Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott has to look behind him and wonder when he's going to get the hook, because he knows that the way his deal works, they want his butt out next year. Cool. And so at some point in time, when he starts throwing too many picks, which he did last year, he's going to have to look for Trey Lance to come in. And once he comes in once, at the end of some meaningless game where they've thrown some too many picks and have lost it, it's a wrap on them being able to say that. And again, if you have two quarterbacks, you have none. And then the Eagles just have a lot of talent. Jalen Hurts may not be anyone's favorite quarterback, but he can do everything that he needs to do pretty darn well. They have A.J. Brown, they have Devonta Smith, they have a three-headed monster at running back. And they just have a lot of different pieces. They have a tight end who is a plus tight end. Yeah. That's a lot of weapons in a division where most teams don't have as many. The only team that has close to as many is Dallas, but they are missing one key spot, and that's the quarterback. So I think the Eagles ultimately are the better team there.
So losing both coordinators does not deter you at all.
No, not enough. Not enough. Like you can't overcome a bad quarterback.
All right.
I like it.
Well, my division.
Hey, y'all playing around with this time.
NFC West. Go ahead, B. Start it off. What you got?
Oh, you want me to go?
Oh yeah, you got the Cardinals winning.
All right, so we're doing the AFC West. NFC West. Sorry. Okay, so I have Arizona in last place. I honestly think that they're the worst team in football this year. The question is that when they get the first draft pick, do they want Caleb, even though they have $100 million guaranteed going to Kyle Murray?
Caleb said he ain't coming.
He's like, I can come back next year. Nothing like a senior year.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
And of course, there'll be all types of jokes. Could USC beat Arizona? Probably. But anyways, they're just abysmal. They don't have anything going for them. Kyle Murray's not even sure when he's going to play. They didn't even bother to get a backup. I mean, at some point in time, this preseason / off season, they just started waving the white flag. That's an awfully early white flag waving, but they did it. I think that signals that they're ready to try and figure out a way to move on and get Caleb and just eat that. But at the same time, that is an awful lot of guaranteed money, and there is no one who is going to be willing to take that kind of money, because in reality, Kyler Murray is so bad, has played so bad, that there's nobody who's willing to give him that second chance at that price tag. Right. So next I have the Rams. They're also pretty darn bad, but the main reason here is bad luck. Cooper Kupp, going into questionable status, whether he's out a week or 4 weeks just on IR, or the rest of the season, or the rest of his career. I mean, he's at a point now where you have to start worrying about those types of things. He is the heart and soul of that team. Cam Akers came on strong, but he came on strong in large part because they had weapons at the wide receivers, and I was able to give him space. Matt Stafford is old, something that his wife made abundantly clear to everyone, and that doesn't really work. And then after the Rams, I have the Seahawks. I think there's just a lot of talent on this team, and they're pretty good. I don't think that they're as good as the 49ers, but I also believe this. The 49ers are not winning the Super Bowl. I mean, I will definitively say there is zero chance that team can win the Super Bowl. And the reason for that is the quarterback. They have no clue what they're doing over there with quarterback, and then there's no confidence that any of them can stay healthy. They have all the talent in the world. If you can't put a quarterback in the field week in, week out, you're not going to win.
That's your thing. Health. All right. So last place I got Arizona Cardinals. People act like the Cardinals getting rid of Colt McCoy, who's 11-25 as a starter, and only started 11 games since 2015. It's a signal that they're tanking. Yeah. That team is just bad. You can have Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. It don't matter who you got quarterback. They're going to be bad. Doesn't matter. Worst team in the NFL, like Brian said. I had Bears last year. I got Cardinals this year. Worst team in the NFL. I got the Rams in third place. They have a lot of young players that Matt Stafford is still trying to learn their names. The Rams are built like an NBA team. They got 3 heavy hitters getting paid a lot of money: Stafford, Aaron Donald, and Cooper Kupp, and then the rest of them are just salary guys. That's not going to work in the NFL, and they're going to lose a lot of games because of it. But they got their Super Bowl, and that's really all that matters. In second place, I got the Seattle Seahawks. Lots of optimism from a lot of people based on last year, but I have Seattle regressing a little bit this year. Geno going into last season threw for 34 career touchdown passes and 37 career interceptions. Last year, he had 30 touchdown passes and 7 interceptions. He had a career year last year. I think that's more of an aberration and not the norm. But the reason I have this team pulling back is they're still so young. And I think success for a young team doesn't always translate for the next year. And plus, it also depends on the quarterback too. I'm not sure Geno will have a year like that again. I actually have them missing the playoffs, Brian, to be honest with you. In first place, I got San Francisco, not because they're my team, but just because I think they're the best team in the division. I think this year they're going to have to win a lot of games with offense. I think the defense is going to be good, but I don't think it's going to be as good as people think or as good as last year. I think DeMeco Ryan was a better defense coordinator than Steve Wilks. I'm not really a big Steve Wilks fan right now. Maybe that might change, but I just think the defense is going to take a step back. And also what people aren't understanding is the defense created a lot of turnovers last year. So Brock Purdy had a lot of short fields to deal with last year. They scored a lot of points doing it. I think this year Brock Purdy is going to have to lead some longer drives this year. And, we'll see what we got with Brock Purdy at quarterback. I think we're going to lose week 1 against Pittsburgh. I know I told a lot of people that. I don't think I wouldn't take the 49ers. I would take Pittsburgh plus the 3 points and ride it. I think there's more continuity with Pittsburgh. They took the preseason seriously. I just don't think the defense for the 49ers are in sync right now to go to a place like Pittsburgh and win that game. I just don't think it happens. I think we played them later in the season, yeah, but right now, and then plus with the 49ers being slow starters, yeah, I got Pittsburgh winning game 1. 49ers starting up 0-1.
All right, guys, I like it.
Of course, I'm a fan. I hope it doesn't, but if I'm betting money, I'm taking Pittsburgh.
I'm liking this. Y'all are on point. All right, so now we're sliding to the AFC. Starting, we're going in the same order. We're starting with the AFC South.
I'll go my boy DeMeco Ryan. I got him coming in last place. That's my boy. You know what I'm saying? The defense should be slightly better, but the offense will be a huge question mark all season for Houston. I'm not a CJ Stroud fan. To be honest with you, last year he threw the 2 guys that's going to be drafted in the first round. He threw the 1 guy who was drafted number 20 in this year's draft. He threw to Marvin Harrison Jr., who will probably be the number 1 pick in this upcoming draft. Plus, Ohio State quarterbacks usually don't do well in the NFL. They just don't. It's just a history. Nothing against Justin Fields or CJ Stroud, but they play with so much talent in the NFL. It's just a different reality.
Against Justin Fields. We know.
Oh, okay. All right. They just don't produce at a high level in the NFL. So I got Houston in last. In third, I got Indianapolis Colts. Indianapolis Colts have started 7 quarterbacks the last 7 season openers. I don't think that's a recipe for success in the NFL. So I think
not work for my team.
And I think Anthony Richardson, I think the Colts are just fine this year, letting Anthony Richardson just work through his mistakes and just, see what happens. So the growing pains with a young quarterback. Hopefully, since I got Michael Pittman and wide receiver in my fantasy team, I hope they have some kind of connection during the season. In second place, I got Tennessee, not because they're good, but because the teams below them are just bad. They have no offensive line. Their defense is okay, but honestly, I think all of us watch Tennessee because of Derrick Henry. I think maybe DeAndre Hopkins, but I'm not sure how good he'll be with Tannehill as quarterback. But I think Derrick Henry is the reason we all of you or anybody else watches Tennessee. In first place, I got Jacksonville, not because they're great, because I just think they're just better than all the other teams in the division. I picked them last year to win the division, but I don't think they'll make a deep playoff run because, Brian, I don't think their defense is that good. I don't think their defense is built for a deep playoff run, but they can win this division. They allowed 389 yards last year, passing to a washed-up Matt Ryan, who was washed up like 2 years ago. Crazy. So Anthony Richardson plays in the first game of the season, so we'll see what happens. Should be worth watching, but yeah, I got Jacksonville. Nothing much to say.
Yeah, you know what? This is going to be real quick. We'll bank the time for the next time.
Okay.
But anyways, I have Texans in last. They're absolutely horrible. I think this is the worst conference in football. If 4 teams could not make a playoff in a conference or division, this would be the division that none of them should make it.
Okay.
The Colts right behind them for the exact same reasons that you said. The Titans right behind them or right ahead of them for the exact same reasons. And the Jaguars winning because someone has to.
Yeah.
And ultimately, they have the most players who have played football recently.
Yeah, that's true.
That's it. That's the whole thing. Yep. I mean, this is just like if there are 4 teams that you should not bother watching unless they are playing your team this season, these are the 4 teams.
And we're banking the team. We're banking the time. Go ahead, make it happen.
Let it keep running.
AFC North, go ahead, B. Make it happen.
All right, so yeah, I got Steelers on the bottom. This is not a knock. I love Mike Tomlin. I think he gets his players up every single time. But ultimately, I think there's one little thing that separates him, and the reason why I have Cleveland in third, and that is because the Browns have a ridiculously easy schedule this year. And I think that is literally the only reason why at some point in time they're going to get one, maybe two wins more than the Steelers, just because they have to go in a much harder schedule with an equally not so wonderful team. So that's those two. Next, I have the Ravens in second. Excuse me. I love the Ravens. I honestly believe that they could win a Super Bowl. I honestly believe they could win this division. I liked them a lot last year. I love this new offense that they're putting out there, which is making it so much more difficult because it's passing focus, and so you're putting a lot of pressure on the cornerbacks, which creates way more room for two really good running backs and a quarterback who can run. I think that's going to cause fits. Their defense has always been solid, but not spectacular. I think that continues. I'm going to say next, I have Bengals in first. All that talent, Mixon, Chase, Higgins, Irv Smith Jr. I think now is on the team as a tight end. Nice. Joe Burrow is a freaking stud. They have a solid defense. There's a lot of reasons to like this team, but I absolutely could see how it could be Ravens-Bengals by a game or Bengals-Ravens. I went with the Bengals just because I feel like they're more polished. The reality of it is the team that wins this division is the team whose quarterback plays the most weeks, right? So Lamar Jackson frequently gets hurt. Burrow is already starting the season with some issues. He's practiced for the first time. So as a result of all of that, I feel like whoever's team plays quarterback plays the most weeks, that's the one I would give the edge because I don't have a crystal ball and I have to pick something for the show. I'm going to go Bengals and then Ravens, but I can see the other one.
Okay. All right. So this division, we're definitely going to be different on. So I got the Cleveland Browns in last place. Okay. I'm sorry, but when I think of the Cleveland Browns, I just think of Deshaun Watson. I'm sorry, I just do.
Yeah.
It's like
he's the team now.
Even if you're the biggest Deshaun Watson fan or Cleveland Browns fan, you have to admit having 68 masseuses on your call log. I'm sorry.
I don't know that has to do with football.
I'm just saying because the thing is, I'm thinking like this. I thought having a masseuse or massage therapy person, whatever you call them, it's like having a barber. You just have one main one and a backup. That's all I thought you had. But he had a bunch of them. But people think last year, well, I guess because of all the lawsuits, he didn't play well. But I'm a Deshaun Watson fan. I actually like him as a player. But I just think he doesn't have it. That's just my personal opinion. I think he's washed. Yeah. So I got Cleveland coming in last, and Coach Kevin Stefanski going to get fired because of it because you can't get rid of a quarterback who's due $229 million guaranteed money, $229 million in guaranteed money. In third place, I got Baltimore. I'm opposite on Brian on this. I'm not high on their offense because they're taking away the strength of a quarterback, which is running. That's his strength.
They're taking it away.
That's his greatest strength.
We'll talk more about
They want to make him a passer, and I just don't think the offensive coordinators actually watched Lamar in the playoffs. The reason why they don't win playoff games is because he can't pass on third down. They don't complete third downs. That's the only reason why Lamar Jackson only won one playoff game his entire career. But I don't know. I think it's a dumb idea. I've seen it happen before with my team. Kaepernick tried to make him passer. Seen they try to make Tyrod Taylor pass. It just doesn't work. Lamar Jackson is a great runner. I don't think you take away his strengths, but that's just my opinion. In second place, I got the Cincinnati Bengals only because Burrow's injury scares me. That's the only reason. Else I'll have them winning the division. And also, this could be the last year for a few years that they are actually competing for a Super Bowl in the next few years because they got to pay Burrow and they got to pay Chase. That means Mixon's going to be gone and most likely Higgins might be gone too. So they have a good team. So this might have to be the year they have to do it. That means in first place, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers.
My last place team is your first place team.
That's right.
The last time that happened was the Chargers, by the way.
Yeah, I lost that one. I did.
That didn't matter so well.
I think the Steelers are flying under the radar this year. Now, I'm not the biggest Kenny Pickett fan. He's just not my cup of tea due to physical limitations, but I do expect him to play better this year. Pittsburgh took the preseason very seriously, and Mike Tomlin's putting a lot of pressure on his offense to get it done this year. So I think he's being very demanding on his offense this year. So we'll see what happens. But this will be an interesting one throughout the year because we're opposite on this.
Yeah, but it's for a lot of the same reasons. Like we went different ways, but if we were both to take the team names off and talk about all the things that we think are going on in that division, they're mostly the same.
Yeah.
The only place I really disagree with you in is I think that the way that their Baltimore offense is being set up is to create the danger of him throwing more, to give him more room and the running backs more room to operate underneath. I think that actually makes him a more efficient runner, not maybe not as many runs, but more efficient runner. As with the running backs, I still think that this team probably leads the league in rushing, which they've done in the past, in part because they have 3 running backs effectively on the field anymore.
So the way I took it is they're trying to make them pass more and eliminate most of their run. That's how I took it. I don't think they should do it. You could be right. They might still run more.
I don't think they're going to run more. I think they're going to run more efficiently. And so they might run 5-6 times less a game, but they're going to gain 3 yards per carry or 2 yards per carry or whatever it is.
It's interesting.
So we'll see. We'll see. I think, but it is interesting to watch. And I also don't think that Lamar Jackson is nearly as bad a passer than a lot of people do. I've been saying that for years. So we'll see how it all works out. This will definitely be a fun one to watch for both.
There's a camp in both. There's some who think he's not as bad. There's some people that think he is. And who's the next division? AFC East. Is that on me?
Hey, go for it. Yeah,
Okay. All right, I'll go AFC East. All right. This is gonna be quick. I got New England in last place. So the offense can't be as bad as last season. I don't think it could be. They got a real offensive coordinator.
They got rid of Zappy.
But I believe that Mac.
Elliott.
Oh yeah, it's 3.8 yards a carry. That's right. He'll help. But I still believe Mac Jones will be the reason that Bill Belichick gets fired.
Bill Belichick gets fired?
Or resigns / retire.
Retires.
Yeah, because he's going to get fired. Yeah, I just don't think Mac Jones is it. I don't have him going to the playoffs either. In third place,
last place, that's
true. Because this is going to surprise you. In third place, I have the Buffalo Bills. I don't have them going to the playoffs either. Lack of weapons behind Stephon Diggs. They got exposed second half of last season. And that's when Josh Allen went erratic, when teams started taking Diggs out and going to other guy. They don't have anybody else. Their first game was against the Jets, and Sauce Gardner is going to be guarding Diggs. So that means Josh Allen's going to have to go to other people. So I don't think
you don't like Gabe Davis. You're not a Gabe.
Oh,
Davis.
no, I'm not Gabe. No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah, I think it's going to be a low-scoring game within the Jets. Under 46.5 points. Bet that. So yeah, I got Buffalo not going to the playoffs. I know I'm gonna get screamed at, but I just don't think Buffalo is.
Yeah.
In second place, I got the Miami Dolphins, who've had 25 different starting quarterbacks since Dan Marino stopped playing.
That's probably a real number.
Yeah, and when Tua gets hurt, it's going to be 26 because the backup, his name is Mike White. He's going to play this year.
Oh,
there's Tua's going to get hurt, so it'll be 26 starting quarterback. So for that reason alone, I do not have Miami Dolphins winning the division because they're going to be rotating quarterbacks. Tua's going to get hurt. That means I have the New York Jets in first place. Aaron Rodgers' efficiency last year, it did go down. But he's a huge upgrade over Ryan Wilson, a huge upgrade, who I said was going to be a bust.
That's how.
Zach Wilson.
How much you like him?
Yeah, who I said was going to be. Who said it was going to be? I said it was going to be a bust. Prove me right. But the Jets schedule first 6 games and play against 4 playoff teams. That's it's going to be hard. But I think they'll find a way to get it done because it gets easier after their bye week. So I think they win the division. It's not overly optimistic, but I did put some thought into it. I think they're going to win. What about you?
Nice. All right. That is intriguing. I have the Patriots at the bottom. They just don't have much talent over there. I do think Ramondre Stevenson is legit. I do think that they have a couple of other players. I do not think those players answer Ezekiel Elliott, who is, in my opinion, been washed. I think that they're done. I find your take about the firing thing interesting. I think that I think that Belichick leaves when he wants to leave, and that is when he decides to retire. I don't know if that's this year, next year, or a couple years from now. Next, I have the Dolphins. I have the Dolphins towards they have a lot. They're a very talented team. They've got Hill. They've got Waddle. They've got. I actually really like Kane, the currently 3rd string running back. I think he will be a 1st or 2nd string running back before the end of the season. But I just don't think that they can put it all together. The big problem there is I don't want to see Tua get hurt. You never wish injury on someone. The reality of it is that he's gotten to a point with concussions. When you have 1 or 2 or 3, the things that protect you, those things break down, and it's easier to have the next one. And that is an unfortunate reality for him. So at any moment, they're looking at the possibility of having their backup quarterback play considerable time because of a Tua injury. That doesn't mean that they wouldn't be really good when he's playing. It just means that they might not have the opportunity to play him. And as Glenn has mentioned, they don't have Steady Teddy in the backup row. Next, I have the Jets. That's not because I don't like the Jets. I actually am a big proponent of Aaron Rodgers as a fantasy player this year. They have him as QB 16 or 17 in most fantasy drafts. I think that is insane. The dude has thrown for like over 4,000, 4,000 yards. I'm heavily leveraging him in fantasy drafts this year because you can't tell me that he's not better than these, the rest of some of these rookie quarterbacks, so on and so forth. Part of the reason for that is that they have a guy named Garrett Wilson who is very, very good. Christian Watson like good. I won't go to Jefferson good or Chase good, but he's definitely Christian Watson, Deontay Johnson type talent. And then they also have Bristol and this guy by Dalvin Cook, who I still think is pretty good. Right. So I think the Jets are going to be really good. Oh, by the way, they have a great defense, which for whatever reason in fantasy drafts is rated number 6. Which is insanity to me.
I think I know why, but we'll talk later.
Yeah, but it's insanity to me when you have a lockdown corner like Sauce Gardner. From a fantasy perspective, one of the things that you want to do is have a players that create turnovers. And that's what Gardner can do. They don't have a great line, but either way, I think that they're going to be second. Obviously, I have the Bills coming in first. I think Allen is still extremely talented. I do think that Diggs, while is good, he's a little bit of a head case. I do think Gabe Davis plays a very solid complementary role and takes advantage of all of those types of things. And if you look at the efficiency stats, James Cook last year was the most efficient running back in football, which is insanity to me when you're thinking about it. Like, oh, this guy was really great. This guy was really great. The most efficient run all over the course of the whole season was James Cook. He gets another opportunity to play on it behind Josh Allen. One of the reasons he's probably so efficient is because Josh Allen chucks him. And that makes it hard for defenses to put a lot of people on the line.
One thing that scares me about the Jets real quick is their offensive line. I don't like it. That could be a problem. And also, I think the reason why the Jets defense is not rated as high because they're good, but they don't generate too many turnovers. I think that's why. I think that's the reason, Brian. Yeah.
But
we'll see. I got the Jets in one of my fantasy leagues, so we'll see.
I got them on like 3 or 4 of them because it was easy to get them late.
Exactly.
Yeah, I wanted to. Yeah, y'all doing good, man. This is.
You like this, don't you?
Get you a little sip of water or something, because y'all blazing.
So no, we'll take a break after this.
Yeah,
go ahead. I'm gonna wrap it up for us.
At the last division, man. I didn't set it up this way on purpose. It's just how they had it lined up when I looked. So,
all right.
You ready? All right. Get to it. Go ahead.
So I want everyone to remember that last year I was the person who did not put the Raiders in last place, and actually thought that they could do things. This year it is a little bit different. I have the Raiders in last place. I do not believe in Jimmy G. I did not believe in him as a 49er. I will not believe in him in Las Vegas.
Truck, man.
That is B210 turned into a truck. I just don't think that Jimmy G has what it takes to lead a team. And again, when you have a failure to have a solid producing quarterback who can stay upright, it's real hard. The whole Josh Jacobs thing, makes it very difficult for a running back to come into camp late and play well. Historically, that's always been a recipe for disaster. I don't think that's any different here. I think that Waller was a very big part of this offense. He is not there. And I think that they're going to regret that decision. That's not to say that Devontae Adams isn't a stud, but Devontae Adams has always played well when there's another threat, because if you can triple and double cover the guy, it's just really hard to catch a ball. DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Johnson are really the only people who have gotten Julio Jones. I said Jerry Jones. And Julio Jones have been like 3 people out of history that I can remember who didn't matter how many people you put on him. Devontae Adams has never been that guy. And Randy Moss. Yeah. But Randy Moss outran the you could put 3 people physically around Hopkins, Calvin Johnson, and Julio Jones. They'd come down with the ball. Devontae Adams is not that guy. That's not to say he's not supremely talented, but it's just not too much there. It's a lot of talk for the team I put in last place.
Sorry. Last division. Go ahead.
Broncos, I have next. I do think they get better. I mean, obviously, Sean Payton. I called it like week one that Nathaniel Hackett was going to be just awful and be gone.
Yep.
I do think Sean Payton is much better. I do think that Russell Wilson found ways towards the end of the season to at least be efficient. They also have some talent in the wide receiver. And I also think that if they can keep Javonte Williams upright, that he's a very solid running back. So I have them in third. Chargers, they have a guy named Herbert. He's really good. He gets to throw to Allen. He gets to throw to Mike Williams. He gets to throw to Quentin Johnson, which is another kind of a flyer fantasy pick that people are kind of enamored with. I'm not as high on him as some of the other people that are in the ADP for that range, but he's pretty hot. And that Eckler guy is also pretty solid.
Yes.
So, they have enough talent there to make some of these things happen. It just happens to be on the screen right now. I do think that ultimately that'll do it. And then last, it's the Chiefs. It's the Chiefs for all the reasons we know it's the Chiefs. I'll leave it at that and let Jason take some time.
Oh, damn, my thing, man. Okay, so in last place, I already know I got in last place. It's the Raiders. I'm sorry. Worst owner in the division, worst coach in the division, and the worst quarterback in the division is not a recipe for success. Now, look, Jimmy has only worked, Glenn, when he had a very competent coaching staff and a good team around him. That's the only time he's ever worked in the NFL. I don't think he has that
Everyone else
foundation.
is good.
Yeah.
He's just the only person that sucks.
Right, but
The team was okay.
I don't think he has that foundation with the Raiders.
That's fair.
The Raiders over/under this year, 6.5 wins. I got them going under 6.5 wins. Not because I hate the Raiders or hate Glenn. I just think that's just what it is.
You got a minute and a half, man. Wrap it up.
Secondary is going to be an issue. Linebacker is going to be an issue, but I like Max Crosby. Okay, moving on. I got Denver in third place. The only thing about this team that I want to watch is to see if Russell Wilson, I don't know, still has it or whatever. I personally believe, I don't think his struggles last year is not all Hackett. I think the way Russell Wilson plays, he needs athleticism that he just doesn't have anymore.
I also think everyone in the team hated him.
And that too, yeah. And I'm gonna get
still beat y'all.
and that's gonna be my hogwash segment when Jimmy was our quarterback. But that's gonna be my hogwash segment. But yeah, so I think his weaknesses are still his weaknesses, and his strengths are not as strong as they used to be. So I got Denver coming third. In second place, I got the Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, they're coming off the Super Bowl.
People big in every one of these groups. Okay.
Yeah, but coming off the Super Bowl, Kansas City doesn't really come out with that much fire the next year. Plus, Chris Jones being out. Chris Jones is their defense. He's just so important to that defense. He's doing the Nick Bosa, which he should. He has leverage. The Chiefs need him, and he needs the Chiefs. So more than he needs the Chiefs. So without him, it's going to be rough for KC, especially if he doesn't play tomorrow against Detroit. I understand everybody's belief in Mahomes. I have belief in Mahomes, my fantasy quarterback, but the defense is going to have to pitch in too, and I just don't think they'll be able to keep up for them to win the division. And then lastly, I got the Chargers coming in first. I know I didn't want to pick the Chargers in first. I did not want to because they burned me every time I picked them to come in first. But Brandon Staley should have been fired a couple of years ago. If he'd been fired already, I would have no problem, but he's still coaching. I'm interested in watching week one against the Dolphins. They played the Dolphins week one. They shut them down when they played them last year. Tua was 10 for 28, and they jammed Tyreek Hill and Waddle at the line where they didn't do nothing in the pass game against their receivers. But Chargers are extremely talented. Kellen Moore has Justin Herbert to work with, not Dak Prescott. So we'll see what happens. I got the Chargers winning the division, but damn it, I don't like it.
Yeah, Chargers is getting so much credit for doing nothing.
Yeah, they're talented, but damn it.
Amazing. All right. So you guys, man, take a breath. You guys did you did every division in like 45 minutes. It's pretty damn good. This is comparative to our first show, where that show took like an hour and 45 minutes. So
I thought it was longer, but okay.
Yeah, y'all are welcome. You feel me? All right. So this is we got about 10 minutes. Is there any other thing you didn't get to say that you wanted to?
Go ahead, B.
About football in general? No. Yeah. You know what?
Is there a game
not particularly, but I will say that this show has renewed my interest in at least 3 divisions where you made some very big calls. I will definitely be watching that on a week in, week out basis. I'm really kind of interested in kind of to see how fantasy things transpire. There's a lot of changes this year. I think it's going to be really, really interesting. There's so many rookies and so many changes at running backs, and everyone thinks that that's going to mean that Jamar Gibbs is going to be a superstar fantasy running back and should be drafted in the first or second round. I don't think so. Like I think I think he's obviously. I think he's an RB2 from a points perspective. I think people are way underdrafting David Montgomery, who is a very, very good running back. I've said for a long time that he was trapped in purgatory, having to be in Chicago, and giving him an opportunity on a team like the Detroit Lions could mean some really positive things. I get it; he's older now, but I just think that he's undervalued. So those are the kind of things that I'm really interested in. We were talking about the Vikings a little bit. I really want them to be good. Jordan Addison is another one of those players that everyone is drafting way ahead of KJ Osborne. Yeah. And today the team came out and said, by the way, KJ Osborne is the number 2 starting wide receiver on this team because he should be. You don't start off rookie wide receivers in that situation. I think Addison's going to be great, but he was here to be the 3rd wide receiver and be the slot guy. And if he transcends into that other guy like Jefferson did, then I think more power to him. I don't think Madison is going to be the guy all season long. I do think Ty Chandler is a more explosive running back. I think ultimately the problem there is that neither of them and the combination of them are one Dalvin Cook. And I do think at some point in time during the season, people will remember that Dalvin Cook was a very good running back for the Vikings for a really long time, and that they do miss him. And his lookalike, as Glenn and I were joking about later, is not going to be able to hold it up. But what about you?
I'm looking forward to a few things. Let's start with, I'm looking forward. I don't want to be biased, but I'm looking forward to the Niners. See how they look. Just coming out, just starting out because I'm
interested in seeing them too.
They're notoriously slow starters, so I want to see if they start off, at a decent rate or fast or whatever. But I'm also interested in hearing all of the overreactions for week 1 because I start to judge teams off of week 2. Bad teams don't know they're bad week 1. That's when you can catch somebody week 1. You can even bad teams can catch somebody on week 1. You never know what's going to happen. Like Brian always says, I'm also looking forward to those starters who did not play in the preseason. They always come out week 1 slow, and a lot of times, most of the time, they lose the game. So I'm looking forward to that as well. I really don't judge teams till after week 2, but I'm looking forward to all the things that we've talked about before and the starters not playing everything. I'm also looking at, for fantasy purposes, somebody I can see week 1 that probably got more carries than we thought they might get or got more targets than we thought that they might get. Maybe they built some type of rapport with the quarterback during the training camp that wasn't talked about or something like that. Because, playing fantasy, you're always looking forward to getting one guy before everybody else, gets him away.
Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah. I don't like that because I got Miles Sanders, who's always hurt. That's my running back. So.
And Chuba Hubbard was like the 3rd or 4th most efficient running back in football.
He didn't start after McCaffrey. That's right. He did.
That's right. Stud.
That's right.
And they shipped him out. So
I need him to help out Bryce Young. So we'll see what happens. But other than that, I'm also looking forward to seeing Bryce Young too. I just think he's just so good. He's just so small. So those are the main things. Just the overreactions, Bryce Young, and how my team does. Yeah. What about you?
I just want to see Raiders win 9 games. So count on that.
2 seasons?
Or this season? I know how the season looks, but we play well against our division anyway. So we'll see how that goes. Usually close with the Chiefs. We'll see what that's about. But everybody's always hating. Chandler Jones, I got to see what happens with that because that's weird. We're always going to have some drama going in. Watching y'all teams because that's what we do every year, right? So curious to see what the Niners do. Brian's prediction that they're not winning the Super Bowl. I don't know if you think they can make it or not, but not winning one's interesting. I mean, if you're going to think about it, you bet any team versus the field. You have a better
chance. Of course. Right?
So,
of course.
That makes sense.
But there's a lot of people picking the 49ers to have this year, and a lot of that has to do with McCaffrey being there for a season.
I live in
moving beyond. But
I live in San Jose, so I see
a little more than that.
We're gonna see what y'all do. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be fun. But yeah, I'm just happy to be here. Watch the games with y'all. Shout out to Mom and Lil coming out. All the family was here. Like, I'm just excited for football season to be back. The show will be now every week. We got plenty of football to talk about, which is exciting. And I'm just happy to do this for, I think it's our 5th year. So our 5th football season, I think this is doing this. Yeah. So it's very exciting on that. But cool. I appreciate you guys, man. This is great. Let's wrap it up, man. We'll kept it under an hour. So you got your last segments, the minute to win it and hogwash. Whoever want to drop with your hogwash.
I'm gonna go hogwash first. I had to put this on my phone because I just couldn't believe it when I read it on the plane coming down to Brian's house. It's an article by Seth Wickersham about the Denver Broncos. Okay. Sean Payton what he told Russell Wilson. He told him to stop kissing all the babies.
Yeah.
You're not running for public office.
Saw this.
Pretty much confirming me and Brian's suspicion that he's just saying you're a phony, you're a fraud. Everybody knows it. I know it. Your teammates know it. Your teammates in Seattle knew it, all that. So you're not running for mayor. Stop kissing babies.
I mean, so nice.
Stop being right. Stop being so whatever and concentrate on football. Sean Payton got rid of his personal office, I think he said he had. But the thing is, Peyton Manning had a personal office too, but Peyton Manning is Peyton Manning, he was winning. So you can have a personal office. I don't think that's really a big deal. It's just that I think Russell Wilson, I think he said, was focused on Russell Wilson Inc. He needs to stop focusing on Russell Wilson Inc. and worry more about football. So yeah, I'm just saying, me and Brian was right. That guy's a phony and a fraud. That's all I want to bring that story up for. That's pretty much what he's saying. That's my hogwash.
But Sean Payton is not worried about coming off as an asshole.
No, not at all. Not with 18 million a year. Hell no. No, definitely not. 18 million a year? Nah, can't say nothing to him.
Yeah, you know what? I actually didn't have anything until earlier. We were talking about a coach. I believe it was the LSU coach that had a $100 million deal, Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
And it just reminds me how hogwash it is that college players are not paid by the organizations they work for. So if you can give a coach $100 million, you can split $10 million, 1/10 of that amongst the players. People will talk about the NIL. Most of the players on these teams are not getting NIL deals. That's the equivalent of, Patrick Mahomes getting his T-Mobile money. That's NIL, and then getting paid by the Chiefs. These players should be getting paid. It only exacerbates the how easy it is to see that the problem still exists when we got coaches getting $100 million deals. And at last check, how many championships has Brian Kelly won?
That'll be zero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money for, you got a lot of zeros for that zero.
Well, they just got blew out too by Florida State. 3 touchdowns.
100 million.
Kelly and them. I don't know Brian.
Brian R.
Yeah,
all of
exactly.
them. Yeah.
Exactly. Word. All right. Mine is going to Chandler Jones, man. And just every year, bro, I don't know what's going on. You got it. But every year, can I just make it into a season without some drama popping right before? Just once. It's hogwash every single time. I can't make it to the season without something big that's happening. Every time.
Who Chandler Jones play for?
Exactly.
Oh,
every time, bro. It's that.
But at least he's getting advice from, those stalwarts and AB and what was the other dude? And Alvin Smith.
Shout out to Alvin Smith because I think he's getting lumped. And he's probably at the crib like, man, what I do? His name got brought up, but yeah. So just minute to win it last segment. Mine is just thank you guys. This is great. Y'all did a fabulous job, man. It's exactly how we're so y'all did great.
Mine's the same thing. Damn. Mine is thank you all if you stayed through this. I don't know. We're at 45, 50 minutes. I don't know. I don't see the timer, but
we good.
If you guys watched all this, please give us feedback. We're on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Anchor, wherever you get, your podcast. You want to say something, you got a question for us, holler at us. We'll answer it on the next podcast, whatever. If you want to just mock us, you can do this on YouTube page. You can do that too. So it's Sports Counterpoints. So thank you all for listening. Appreciate it.
Sir.
I'm gonna do a sports related minute to win it. I almost never do this. It's weird. No, this is a positive shout out and wonderful story that I was reading about earlier to the Baltimore Ravens, who's in all their quarterbacks and their quarterback coaches are all Black. It is the first time in the history of the NFL that is the case. I think that is an amazing, tidbit. Not because it means anything, but I just think that it's quite honestly, there's always been this kind of belief in the back of my head that there always needed to be more of a shade with the quarterback position. And so it's nice to see that that's actually the case and that they actually look past that. That's pretty awesome.
Well said.
So nice work.
Fabulous work, guys. This is Sports Counterpoints. Let's go Raiders, Niners, Vikes, and y'all enjoy football season. Catch y'all later. Peace.